Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel Leggy here representing Team JVS. I'm back here again for another movie review. Now, this is a film that I have been highly anticipating because I love Ridley Scott. I love Jodie Comer. I appreciate what, of course, both Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have done, as well as Adam Driver. And this is the culmination of all the best worlds come together. So, the backdrop of this story, as far as the synopsis, is King Charles the Sixth is basically allowing a duel to happen between a knight of his, Sir John, and his squire Jacques. Now, Sir John is played by Matt Damon, and Jacques is played by Adam Driver. Now, the backdrop of this, though, is the opening shot of this shows the opening battle. And it's from the perspective of Matt Damon's character. And it kind of opens up and shows like chapter 1 and then from his perspective. And it's one, first of all, the cinematography is great. Like, this is the same exact cinematographer that did Prometheus as well as Martian. And the other side of this, also, they got the same exact composer of Martian to do the score for this one. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But just in the opening shot, like, it is gruelingly violent. Like, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is going to be really cool. But then, like, no. Like, Ridley Scott said, never forget, I did that movie that is The Gladiator. And rumor had it he's going to be doing a sequel to it. Bring it on. Because this, like, the visual scope and the violence is just amazing. The duel itself is probably up there with me in terms of anticipation and hype and build-up of Brad Pitt and Eric Bana's Troy. Like, that fight. Like, it really was that epic, but it felt really well choreographed, really well shot. Like, every single blow felt like, oh no, these men are legit trying to fight for their lives. And it's just so out there. Like, I was so surprised at the level of violence and how much they went for it in terms of every single fight sequence that actually happens in this. Now, do know though, make sure you understand, this is not about, you know, all the different fights. There are different fights that are really dope. And there, of course, the end definitely executes a very interesting fight that I'll talk about a little bit later. But this movie is not about that. Truth be told, I kind of went into this thinking that, you know, St. John, which is Matt Damon's character, especially off the first chapter, this is all about him. And it just kind of surrounded like people around him, like his wife and his previous friend that was a squire, and how, you know, there are things that kind of happen with Ben Affleck's character, which is Pierre, that put things in motion. The reality of this is, and I hate to say this, but it's true, and I'm not going to tell you who's what. You have a sociopath, a psychopath, antagonist, and somebody is caught in the middle of the three. And only one that I'll say that I'll give away is caught in the three is Jodie Comer's character. Jodie Comer, from the beginning, when the moment you meet her, you kind of are like, oh, okay, this person seems legitimately innocent, but they're put in a really compromised situation because their father is dealing with some compromised situation. And then, you know, she marries off to Matt Damon's character, and it's kind of like things seem like it's okay. And then she gets introduced to, you know, Adam Driver's character, and it's like, oh, okay, I can see maybe there's a lover's quarrel there. Maybe there's like a back and forth. Like, you know, we've seen different incarnations of, you know, love triangles. But look, realize by the end of this film, you're gonna realize that is not what this is all about. Matter of fact, like, her performance in this made the movie in the third half for me. Like, because the first half, it was from the perspective of Matt Damon's character, and then of course, Adam Driver's character. And it's kind of going back and forth from this personality perspective that Matt Damon had this issue with Ben Affleck. It is funny because Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are such good friends. It's interesting watching them literally go after each other. Ben Affleck is a gem in this. Like, he honestly, his presence is felt throughout every conversation in the first half. Like he didn't before he even shows up. The moment he shows up, he does something just a small little. I was like, Ben is enjoying this role too much, and on top of that, he is doing it so well. Matter of fact, he like even with his accent, he was like tapping into some Jeremy Irons level stuff. Like I was like, did he have like coaching with Jeremy Irons like on this character? Because like honestly, he sounded like him. Like he had charisma. And at the same time, there's some maliciousness about him. But then also, like, it was like, okay, he's got a code, but maybe he really doesn't. Like, he does some really messed up things. And a big platform of Adam Driver's character is based off of Ben Affleck's. Now, Adam Driver's character is kind of like, you want to understand where he's kind of coming from. And you want to kind of like, oh, okay, I see how this got to this point. But there are things that happen that you just like, no. Like, I'll say this. His performance is great. Like, he has to play technically the same character 3 different ways. Like, the weird backdrop of this, and I think some people are going to probably, as critics, going to knock the movie, but I actually appreciated it because by the end of it, one thing they said on the chapter 3, it says, outline the truth. Remember that. Because everything you see up until that point is from different people's perspective, but one finite is the truth. And so I'm not going to knock the movie down, but the thing is, you have him play a character one way, have him play another way, and then have him play a completely different way. And it's kind of like, I guess it's the idea of how you see yourself and how you portray yourself versus the way you actually really truly are. And that's how this movie opens up. Now, this is based on true events, which is crazy. Because Matt Damon's character, he as a soldier, oh my gosh, he is a straight up savage as a soldier. Oh my gosh, he plays it as a soldier. It's his ego and his unquenching need to be right that kind of like, you're kind of like, oh wow, what does that translate to be? And you get to see the fullest parts of that, to the point where you get to Jodie Comer's character, when you really get to understand what's really going on, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is just, and it takes you off this whirlwind. Now you have Harriet Walter that's playing the mother of Matt Damon. You also got Alex Lawther that's playing King Charles. He does certain subtle things. I'm like, yeah, you know what? King Charles he ain't right in that. And it's just interesting to see certain things and dynamics that are kind of shifting. Again, just remember, you got a sociopath, a psychopath, an antagonist, and you have somebody that's caught in the middle. And that is where this movie starts to truly shine in the second act. By the time you get to chapter 3 or the second half, like, you're just like, oh my gosh, because that leads into something really intense. And the conversations and the dialogue, like, it's almost like there's impending death in the air that you just really kind of feel. Whereas it's weird because the first half, yes, there's fights, yes, there's conversations, but it never feels like, oh, okay, well, it could be taken up to interpretation. Like, no, like, when you really get to the chapter 3, that's when this movie really, to me, cements itself. This is an easy 9 to 9.5 out of 10 movie. This is probably one of my favorite films this year, even though it's not the best film I've seen this year. From the action to, again, I didn't even talk about it. The score is so amazing. Like, it feels so rich. It feels different. It doesn't feel like a score that I've seen from an era piece like this. Like, it actually feels like it's got its own thing. But again, also the sound design mixing with the choreography and the fight scenes and the intensity and the slow moments and the moments that are just sick and disgusting and the moments that are also beautiful and enlightening. It all meshes into this very interesting, tight-knit film that I truly enjoyed, which is The Last Duel. You definitely have to go and check this movie out if and when you get the opportunity to check it out. If it's on VOD, if it's streaming, if it's in the theaters, go and check it out. Make sure you protect yourself. Make sure you're safe. I really do appreciate the opportunity to be able to watch this film because I did not know I would really truly enjoy it as much as I did. And I'll talk to you guys a bit later on. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell button. Let me know what you think of The Last Duel. Take care, guys. Peace.